Check, 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 check. Okay. So today I'm dealing with... I gotta do this next shot where Akari says, I was almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. And if we look at the video edit... there is a shot right here that's kind of sort of what we need in terms of Akari, but the problem is in the last shot we did, Mr. Ninja Guy was standing up, so in between here it appears that he stood up, which is fine. So I did this shot without really telling you. It was kind of a secret. I just took this shot of Zen and I went in and added this reaction shot, which I think worked out great. So from here, I have to say things are looking better and better as we go. And then boom, it's going to cut back to Akari. So the problem that we had was I opened up OpenTunes, and I'm going to kind of sort of go to the project file and kind of show you what I saw. Okay, so this is what I saw. I came back to this scene 130, which was done in OpenTunes, and stuff's just like missing. So it's like, okay, OpenTunes is being OpenTunes today, so forget it. So what do? I need to reproduce that scene because I just want to make some modifications to it. How do we do it? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I went into Krita, which starting now I'm going to call Krita because that's what I'm used to calling it. And I pulled up shot number 134, and now what I'm doing is I'm simply painting out Akari from this shot. So that's where we're at. Let's just do that. Boom, 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 boom. I love it. It's quick. It's easy. It's effective. We're just going to take a big old brush and just do what we do, man. All right, so now let's block in this floor color. Like so. And there's really no reason for me to be painting, so to speak, in perspective at this point, but just to be nice, I will. So, kind of like that. Most of this we won't be able to see because Akari is going to be in front of it. So, and this should kind of sort of get darker as it goes to the east. Of course, it's not really the east, it's really the right. Okay, and actually a little bit of a sense of shadowing here would be good too, but again, you're not going to see too much of this because it's going to be all covered with Akari. So what's going to be interesting about how I do this shot is how I went about getting Akari into the shot, which I think is pretty funny. This is pragmatism at its finest, folks. Okay, almost done with our background shot. So let's just shrink our little brush down. Shrink our brush down. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then let's make it even lighter and let the sun go ahead and give an edge to our doorway. Okay, cool. Looks like we're in good shape. One could certainly claim that this shadow's a little bit lame-o. So let's go ahead and go black, but turn the opacity of the brush down just to sort of bring in a little bit more of a shadow happening here. Now, because I'm doing the opacity at the brush, if I do it twice, it's going to build up. So, like so, which is kind of nice. Okay. If you guys are getting the impression I've been a bit enamored of Krita lately, I must say that what can I say? It's been letting me get work done, you know. It just has. So I want to take a little bit of let's just go ahead and put a little bit of a hint of blue over here. Just because it's fun. Alright? Okay, that's that. Now, save early, save often. The question now becomes, how do we get Akari in the scene? And what I did was simplicity itself. I took the current mix I went to this shot. I said, okay, this is the shot I want. And I just copied it over here above the color correction layer in the video editor. And then I hit Control up arrow, then 1 to make it full HD, or it's actually broadcast HD. But and in fact, I actually zoomed in a little extra just so I'd have a little bit of shrink room. And I took a screenshot. That's it. Stupidly simple. Just took a screenshot and brought it in here. Now all I got to do is erase the stuff that doesn't belong, which is pretty quick and easy, right? So there's a slight adjustment, and now I think it would be easier to see what I'm doing if I kind of make like that. So I'm going to take my excuse me, I really want a B for brush, I think is what I'm looking for. And then I'm going to hit E for eraser, and I'm just going to go ahead and really quickly just paint out some stuff that does not belong and never should have been allowed to be here in the first place. Alright, we can kind of broadly do it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this brush. It gives me a little bit more control. The paintbrush looking brush. Can you believe I just said that? The paintbrush looking brush. What does it come to? Anyway, the paintbrush looking brush has a lot more pressure sensitivity for the brush size, so that way I can get in here and get either really small, fine, detailed tweaks or broad brush strokes. So this is only going to take a couple minutes, folks, and then we'll be able to go ahead and deal with the lip sync, which is really the only other thing we have to do for this shot. Well, that's not true. Actually, one thing I want to do is I'm actually going to do a second screenshot and steal the eyes from a different shot, a different frame of the shot that I stole this from. And you know what? I may even cut and paste the lip sync shapes. I don't know. We'll see. It'd probably be just as fast to redraw them, actually. But as far as her eyes, and I may play around with doing like a liquify tool adjustment of her eyes, actually. Let me try that before I grab the other ones. The other ones would allow, like, she can be doing this and kind of her eyes flash, you know, like that kind of thing. So I may try that sort of effect. Okay, so however, before we can do anything, we got to get rid of the erroneous stuff. Now I think I can use the magic wand here. Okay, maybe not so much. Let's delete that. Okay, that was maybe less than stellar, but oops, I hate that when I hit the E key, and for whatever reason, and it happens frequently, is you hit the E key and it doesn't take. Krita does not switch into erase mode. Maybe I don't hit the E key hard enough. Maybe I don't say please. Not asking nicely, you know, who knows. But I'm telling you, it happens. And it's annoying when it happens. But because I've been getting really good results across the board with Krita lately, and having nothing but fun, I'm not inclined to complain too loudly at this point. I'm not using Krita 4.2. For the stuff I'm doing, they are functionally identical anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. There's some performance and stuff with 4.2 that's compelling, but it's a ceiling I almost never bump into, so it's not, as I say, compelling to use 4.2 at this point, although I like the release. It's good stuff. But yesterday, what I found was I had a shot with a bunch of keyframes, and what I did was I clicked down here, grabbed a keyframe, and then dragged it over here. And even though I was not pressing down the Alt button, it went ahead and took all the keyframes that were downstream and moved them as well, which, you know, that can't happen. It's great that you can do it when you want by hitting the Alt key, but you don't want it to be like rippling your keys all the time no matter what. And it wasn't doing that all the time. So as far as I can see, that's buggy behavior. And fortunately, when I reopened the project in Krita 4.1.7, it did open up no problem. So I was able to just go ahead and go back to 4.1.7. No problema. So now I'm actually going to do just a little bit of sketchy tweakage to tighten some things up. The thing you lose with Krita compared to OpenTunes is essentially transformation, the ability to grab a that's not what I wanted. I wanted the eraser. The ability to grab a level or a layer or a group of layers and have some sort of rigging or parenting going on. So that you do not get with Krita. With Krita, it's like using Clip Studio Paint. You know, it's purely frame by frame animation. But for an anime type production, I just haven't been finding that's mattered much. I mean, the thing that's kind of more useful more of the time for me would be things like the plastic tool, I suppose. Now, if you're going to do a camera move, then that can be problematic. But if I was going to do a camera move with Krita, what I probably would do, actually, is I would just render the animation out. I would make it a little bigger than I need it to be. Okay, I'd make it big enough to accommodate the camera move within the frame, if you will, and then I would just bring it into either Blender or OpenTunes and just do the camera move there. You know, no big deal. So, having better luck with Krita lately than OpenTunes has caused me to look more pragmatically about, you know, what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't work, where do you run into problems, yada yada yada. And I think that pragmatism has served me well. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm literally actually, let's use this brush. I'm going to just paint into this and hide her mouth so that I can put her mouth on a different layer. And let's save. Now the question becomes, what about the eyes? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm gonna kind of pull a Krita thing here that would maybe be harder to do in OpenTunes. Here it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to cut this. I'm going to hit Control X, Control V, because what that did was automatically put it in a separate layer, which is kind of convenient. So now I'm going to hide that, and then let's hit the fill tool, sample that color, fill that, sample that color, hit the B key, and just paint that back in. So that's the aspect of working with Krita that I've been enjoying, is stuff like this. It's just really easy to like patch things up and fix them and reuse earlier shots, you know, which is something you really definitely want to be doing a lot of the time. Okay, so now, whoops, a little bit of a hokiness there. Okay, so I would say we got a slight issue here. Alright, so now let's turn this back on and see what we get. Okay, so I'm still in the underneath layer, by the way. I don't know if you can see that, but I am. So what I'm going to do is try to smooth that out a bit. And now I'm going to go back to frame 1. I'm going to hit Control Insert so that there is a keyframe there, and immediately save my work. Alright, so now having done that, okay, mouth. Let me just check something here. Okay, that would have to be up above. I'm just checking to see if the earlier mouth shapes are actually useful. It doesn't look like they are. I don't even remember what I had there, so I'm just going to skip it. Okay, so let's go here, and again, let's just do a little fix up, a little bit of fix up. And now the question is, can we, let's go ahead and hit insert there, and then what I'm going to do is just see if I can make her eyes squint a little bit. Okay, I think that by squeezing them is probably not the way to do it. So now what I'm going to do is go back to my brush, and let's just patch this up a little bit. No problem. You can always just paint over it. Okay, so now what I want to do is take this shadow layer and go like this. Alright. And let's grab this. We're going to have to make the eyebrows a little ornerier. Alright, and again, just patch up and clean up the stuff that's not quite working. I think this one I can probably just squeeze it down like that a little bit, and it's going to be okay. So now what if we took this? Now that makes her look like she's got allergies or something, so I'm not going to do that. However, what I am going to do is, what's her line? I was almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. Okay, so let's save. And let's deal with her mouth. So, actually, I forgot I had the other frame in there. So, okay, that's cool. Then let's go ahead and do a little extra patching just because we can. Let's just paint over this. So what I'm doing right now, you can see, I'm actually just putting in whatever's necessary to make it so that the boo-boos underneath are covered. Okay, so she's going to say, I was almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. Okay, let's just roll this and see what happens. I was almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. Okay, so resist is going to be here. So 60, for instance, about 5 seconds long. All right, so I think we'll put, let's go up to frame 6 here. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so good to go. Let's just double check this, make sure there's nothing, there's no like flaws sneaking through still. Okay, I wonder though, one thing, I wonder if the whole eye situation should be moved down a little bit on this shot. Let's just see how that feels. I can always undo it if I decide. Yeah, that's better. That looks a little more natural. Okay, so now we're up to her mouth. And all right, so insert, B key. Let's just make it black, and then we'll go in and make it partially transparent. All right. Okay. Too late on that one. Let's move it up one. And let's put an M sound here. Okay. Now on 2s, we're going to add an O. Okay, so let's just slide that back a bit. Alright, and let's stretch this out a little higher, a little lower. And I'm actually going to take that and stretch it again. We might have to do a little bit of tweaking on the color. Yeah, just to tighten that up a little bit. And right now, let's go ahead and make our layer, yeah, about 80% transparent. So here we go. Okay. Alright, I'm going to take this and ripple it just a little bit. Alright, and now we need to control drag this so she's got the P sound. Because where's that O sound? Because you couldn't A key? Resist. I want the big mouth. Alright, let's see how that goes. And that ended me around 60, which is exactly what I had predicted when I just timed it out by ear. Almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. Okay. Almost kidnapped. Okay, so after she says almost, I'm feeling like that's a little bit of a delay. Almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. Okay. There's at the end needs to be stretched out just a bit. Alright, so let's take this and drag it downstream a little bit. And I would say let's make the mouth layer just a tiny bit more transparent. And there we go. So, I guess we do need a mouth there. So, I love it. That took 20 minutes, barely. Okay, and then the next shot's going to be completely different. We'll probably return, I'm not sure, I think maybe to open tunes because we're going to be going back to the wide shot that we haven't seen in a while. So, with that, I'm going to go File, Render Animation. This is going to be 134, but where we're going to put it, as I've explained before, is in the Conversions folder, so that after it's done rendering, it'll immediately get converted to MJPEG. So we are at, that was 60, so let's go to 72 here on our length. So last frame is going to be 72. And rock and roll. And I think we're not going to wait to cut it into the show, or should I? I mean, 32%. It's almost half done already. It's almost half done. Why don't we do that? Why don't we go ahead and just go to here? Now, this is the point I was kind of making earlier. Is one does wonder if I should go ahead and have that glaring look. I think not. At this point, I'm going to stick with what I have. So we're going to go here. And then up in Free Commander, which is what I've been using as my file manager because it's better with thumbnails than the Windows File Manager. We're going to go to the Render Conversions folder. Is it done? It looks like it might be. Indeed it is. And so now we just go click, click, and that's it. It converted it into an AVI, and now we can see the thumbnail, which means we can also drag it into the main render folder, at which point it can be dragged and dropped into the edit. So going down here, looking for the AVIs in my file list, because I don't have stuff sorted by date right now. I've got it sorted by type. So there's Blender, and dragging 134 to here. And now what we're also going to do is duplicate this line of dialogue. And the strip is going to be, or the text I should say, I was almost kidnapped because you couldn't resist. Boom. Which is not completely true. I don't know if it's really fair for Akari to be saying that, but okay, so now we'll just kind of look at the progression. Okay, it's working. All right, and with that, we are coming up close on the half-hour point. I like the idea of being able to knock out a shot in 30 minutes. That's Jim Dandy. And so with that, I will say, as I often do, well, what I say is, there will be more later.